Okay, I'm going to be presenting my assignment 5, which is the handheld garment steamer. So initially, I wanted to talk about the omelet maker that I tore down. I got it from Goodwill, and these are just some images that I took of the omelet maker. So over here is the back with the extension cord, and as you can see right here, there's a little divot for the extension cord to leave the casing. There's also these casing legs that I found really interesting. I didn't really know what they were for, maybe to hold up um, the casing off the table. There's also these indicator light panels that were translucent and you could see the light through it, which would indicate whether or not the ceramic heating element was heated up or not. There's also this joint connection down here that allowed the product to be open and closed like a clamshell. And then there was also these interior handle covers that were screwed in. Down here is an image that of all of the items taken apart. So on the left and right farthest sides, there are the red outer casings. As you can see that there are some ribs right here. There's also some bosses for the screws. Here's the internal heating component with some wires attached to it, and a variation of different size screws, and also any kind of covers that would cover up the screws. So here is the picture more up close. There was an indicator on the casing that said it was made of phenol formaldehyde resin, which is extremely temperature resistant and chemical resistant. There's also some overspray, as you can see that the red color did not penetrate all the way to the inside, which kind of shows that the casing was held up and only sprayed on one side. And the overspray is just the leftover droplets that reach the inner side. There's also black screws that were closer to the outside of the product, so you could actually see the ends of the screws. So they made them black so they would blend in with the polycarbonate handle covers. The inside was made of Teflon and stainless steel. So Teflon is the ceramic covering of the omelet maker, which allows it to be non-stick. And then there's also the copper heating component itself that was attached to wires that you would plug into the wall that would heat it up. There were also internal screws that were not black, which allowed for just holding in clasps and whatnot in the internal components. And then you can also see that the legs on the casing were covering some of the screws that held the components together. And over here, there's a little bit more in-depth view of all of the components. So you can see here that there are ejector pin marks. There's also some sanding of the metal where the injector pin marks are. Whoops. Just to, scrape off the extra material. And there are also surrounding the copper element, there are little incisions made where the stainless steel was pushed down to clasp onto the copper, so it was not movable. And down here, I have my exploded view and also just other sketches that I did. So over here, you can see that there are bosses for the screws, the attachment clasp. This is how everything fit together. You can see that there's also the extension cord exit down here. Over here, there's a straight pull mold release that you can see um, in more descriptive images of the handle clasps, but there are pin marks on them and ribs and bosses that allow for support. And there are also weld lines along the side right here that show that this piece was either added on top of this background stainless steel element and then welded on, or they were just welding it for extra support. So moving on to my redesign, I really wanted to work with a handheld garment steamer because I felt like the omelet maker had interesting components that could be used with an actual portable handheld garment steamer, because I feel like most of these are not super portable. So this first one, there's awkward weight distribution, just, how you hold on to it because the top is a lot heavier than the bottom. And it's also cord powered. This one was also cord powered, but it was only vertical steam. So I wanted to make something that, you could use vertically and horizontally like this one. So this one is also not easy for vertical steam and it's cord powered, but it was easily portable just because of its size. So here is the ideation phase. So I started with some preliminary kind of form sketches and whatnot on this side, and then I went into more in-depth potential internal components and how everything would fit together. I did another exploded view of the ideation that I kind of went with. So this has like, a hand dip for comfort, and then this handle is almost flush to the surface, but not quite. Then there's a battery door on the bottom. Up here, there is the steel panel where it has the holes that allow the steam to be released, and then the water basin above that panel. So here is the model that I ended up making. These are the SolidWorks models, so they're not rendered. I added some screw pilot holes at the top right here, and also kind of around the edges of all of these components. I added some to the top of the case as well, so you could screw in components for the handle. And also I added this area where you could place this water basin. You could just slide it in, and then the water basin top unfolds so you can easily put water in it. And in this one, you can see that I tried to add the copper component, how the omelet maker had it, but it was a little bit difficult to really understand how that works. But I added the holes around the heating component, so there's no holes that actually open up to the outside that are right directly under the heating component. And so these are the renders that I made. Here's the steam plate, here's pilot holes for the screws. There's also the water basin right here and the handle. So you would use this in this direction where your hand would be right here, and you'd be pushing towards the end with the colored panels. I just wanted to make that a little bit user friendly so someone would know, like, okay, this top is a little bit bigger, and obviously it's tilting kind of upward, so you would be more inclined to push in that direction. But going on to the materials, I decided that co-mold injection molded casing where this part with the dip inside of it would be a shiny soft touch silicone, and then the casing that had the deeper colors would be hard shiny phenolic formaldehyde resin, just because I wanted to continue with that same component from the omelet maker, just because I already knew that it would be heat resistant. And then there's soft touch injection molded HDPE handle. I know I did some research and I saw that soft touch soft touch plastics were actually just, coated in some kind of finishing that would make them soft touch. Then there's the clear polycarbonate water basin. I wanted this to be clear so you could actively see how much water was inside the basin and if you needed to refill it. There's also ceramic coated stainless steel steam plate, which is that under part um, at the front. And then there's the polypropylene base plate with the battery door, which is on the back of the bottom. And then there's going to be steel screws just found, connect the handle to the casing, and also to connect the casings together, and to connect the basings to the case. And then there's also the copper heating element that is found on the top of the steam plate. And that's all. Here is the rendering along with a size comparison of a normal steam iron. Thank you.